Welcome to any new subscribers and welcome back to any previous subscribers. This is my channel and vlog, Gingerella, and today I'm going to talk to you about my February makes. I've got a different arrangement today, so I thought I'd use the natural light from the window and just film from this side of my sewing space. So let me know what you think. Is this worse, better, the same? You don't care? Okay, so February, actually looking at the list, I don't think I was super productive. I made a few things, not very many. I'm going to do them slightly out of order. Let's kick off first with the Seamwork Astoria. Now I'm actually wearing the Seamwork Astoria at the moment. This is in the Atelier Brunette French Terry Twinkle Rose. And I also made a toile, the short-sleeved version, in some scuba jersey type stuff, but I just did the short sleeves, whereas these are the long sleeves, and yeah, it turned out really well. I think I like them both. I'll try and stand up. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to see from that angle, but I really like it. I did a blog post on it, so I'll link to that below, and there's some more pictures there. I added 2 inches to the bodice. I cut a size small. On both versions I brought the sleeves in, grading to nothing from under the arm. On the green version it was 3/4 of an inch, and on this version it was 5/8 of an inch that I graded to reduce it because it was a bit baggy. It's still a little bit loose, but I wouldn't want it any tighter than it is now. The neckband, I've talked about this in my blog. On both versions it sits up, which most people seem to think was a feature, but it's not. It's supposed to lie flat. So I'm not really sure exactly how to fix that, and I had to reduce the size slightly for both of them. And it doesn't bother me too much. I really like it otherwise. It is short, even with adding the 2 inches, it is short, so I only really wear it with a top or something that's high-waisted anyway, and quite high-waisted really. Really happy with it. This fabric is amazing. Love it. So glad that I splashed out and bought a metre of it from faberwood.com. My second make was for the Colette Moneta party, which that was so much fun. I really loved seeing what everyone had made and getting excited about the prizes that were being announced. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed that, and I tried to do something a little bit different with the Moneta. I think I'd only made 2 Monetas before, but they'd both been the same. They'd both been short-sleeved, and just the variation where it's just the bodice, and just the normal skirt. The fabric I used was some jersey from Sew Over It. I'm not sure if they've got it anymore, but if they do, I'll link to it in the description below. I kept the front the same. Using a hack Colette put up, I scooped out the back, and actually you could wear it this way around as well, but it's just a little bit low cut. I scooped out the back. I cut out a tiny little bit too much, and actually the hack that Colette put up, they do have straps that get added to the scooped out back, but I didn't want that. And there was a sentence in the hack that said you could just have it without those straps, so that's what I did, but it does show my bra strap a little bit unless I took it out of sight, so that's an important consideration if you are going to scoop the back out. You could probably go to the same depth, but the angle you might not want to come in quite so much on the side of the strap there. And the other thing that I did was convert the gathers into pleats, and actually it was really straightforward. I'd never done that before. I'd never done it on a woven fabric, so I was a little bit nervous about doing it for a jersey. The way I did it was just to measure the length of the bodice all the way around, and then measure the length of the skirt all the way around, and work out how much I needed to take away for them to be the same size, and then basically divided that by 4 to work out how much each pleat needed to have in it. So I did that in the front and in the back, and I really like it. It just elevates it slightly. I love the Moneta, and it is fairly smart, but just to take it that little bit smarter, making pleats really did help with that. And I think it highlighted this fabric a little bit more, just because there's a lot going on, so to then add gathers to it, it might be a little bit busier. I really like it, and I actually wore it to my birthday meal, so that was really nice. Okay, so my final make is probably what most of you have been waiting for, which is my version of the Closet Case Patterns Kelly Anorak. Okay, so I've moved a bit further out actually. I've moved the camera back a little bit so that you can see a little bit more of this when I stand up. So here she is. I'm so proud of this. I love the finished version. I've just spotted a bit of thread there. So yeah, for those who don't know, the Closet Case Patterns Kelly Anorak, it's a zip-up anorak with the option of a drawstring in and the option of a hood, or the option to not have a hood or a drawstring and just keep it simple. It has gusset pockets like this, and I'll take my gloves out so it doesn't look quite so bad. It has a poppered placket, and it doesn't have a lining, but Heatherloo of Closet Case Patterns does have a blog post about how to interline it, and yeah, this is my version of that. So let me just talk through it a little bit. So there is a blog post about this with all the details in, so I'll just try and summarise briefly. I made a size 6 even though my hips actually fit into a much bigger size, not much bigger but 2 sizes bigger, but I looked at the finished measurements and I really didn't think that I needed to grade out in that area, and I think that's worked out fine. I interlined / underlined it with some Liberty fleece which I got on eBay. The outer fabric is a cotton twill from craftmill.co.uk, and I think in pictures it looks quite brown, but it is more of a khaki colour in real life. I'm not sure if that's coming out on screen. I added the drawstring and I added the hood, and the hood is also underlined. I finally remembered to put a label in one of my makes. I haven't remembered to do that for ages. The reason that I did that actually was because it didn't have a hook to hang it. I think the instructions do talk about it, but I didn't add it in, and then later I missed it being there. So in terms of adjustments, I made very few adjustments, to be honest. The instructions in the blog post talk about you making it and then putting it on and seeing where your waist is and putting the drawstring there. So I did move the eyelets up by 1 1/4 inches because it was a little bit lower on me. When it came to finishing, the pattern has on the cuff here, so if I put my arm in, on the cuff here, it only has 1 snap here, 1 press stud. I actually added 2 in, so it just wouldn't flap as much and get as dog-eared. But if you are going to do that, you really need to make sure that you trim these seams here, because otherwise the post of the snap won't go through, and I had to retrospectively do that, so I had to unpick all of that area and trim it down. And actually the finish on the inside there isn't as good now because I had to unpick that, and I'd already then put the press stud in, and then I had to top stitch it down. And also I also interlined or underlined the sleeves, and initially I was just going to do it with something slippery, which I did do, so that you can easily get it on and off, but I was a bit worried that it might be cold on my arms. So what I also did was, in between this slippery fabric and the outer fabric, I also added some Winceyette, I think it's called, but it's a bit like a very thin brushed cotton. Other than that, I didn't make any adjustments to anything, and I just made it as it was. I just want to talk briefly about the pockets. First of all, they might look really complicated, but they're really fine to make actually with Heatherloo's instructions. I'm not sure I would have been able to do it very well otherwise, so they're really good. So it has a press stud on the gusset pocket here. It is functioning in the sense that it is a press stud, that a snap that you can open like that, but it isn't used in terms of making the pocket functioning. I'd read someone else's blog and now their blog has disappeared, so I actually can't link to it. I wish I could. She said that having this press stud on the inside actually causes a bit of irritation for the hand. And I read it, and I'll be honest, I thought that's not really going to be a big deal. But every time I put my hand in my pocket, I tend to catch my hand, and I've got quite a few scrapes where I've I've caught it either on a finger or the top of my hand. So I really would consider that if you're going to make it. So if I make another one, I would make that a functioning pocket, and then that would also fix the problem of it catching my hand. But otherwise, I think I really love it. I particularly like this feature on the back. Really like that. I've also made the Sewaholic Minoru jacket, and as much as I love that jacket, I have to say this functions better. So that one has a hood, but the hood doesn't stay on. Maybe with a thicker fabric, that hood would stay on, but having the breasteds all the way to the top here around the hood means that it really does stay on around your face. So that's really good. I guess having the extra weight also helps keep it on. And the Minoru doesn't have outer pockets. I actually added patch pockets to mine, but still these are slightly better pockets, I think. The only thing that I'm not sure if I did it wrong or not is the left placket as you're wearing it actually flaps open quite a lot, and I think Lauren of Ladybird talked about this as well. I just don't like that. You can see the interfacing, and if it were not lined you wouldn't even be able to hand stitch it, because you probably would see it from the other side. So I'm not really sure what to do about that, or whether you even want to sew it down, because you might need a little bit of giving it. I really don't know, not sure. All the pieces of fabric together were really thick, so I couldn't also add bias binding here, so it's just overlocked, and it's not the neatest of finishes, but it really doesn't bother me. There's a point at which you have to say, this is good enough, and it works, and it's fine. I really want to make another one. I want to make a navy one, and I don't want to interline it again, but it is really fun to have something nice on the inside, so I don't know, I'm going to think about that. The Kelly Anorak really does take a long time to cut out though, I must admit. I've got a little book here, the So Crafty dressmaking journal, and at the moment I'm only using that for my Make 9 projects, and I'll show you the really long list that I had for Kelly. So this was view A, and I had all the pieces that I needed for my version, and then along the top I had the main fabric, the interlining, the lining, the interfacing, and just writing down here exactly which pieces I needed and how many and so on. So yeah, that's quite involved, I won't lie. Really happy with how she's turned out. And those are all my makes for February. Okay, thanks for watching. See you again next time. Bye.
Why do I never write down the size? The only bit that I changed after that really was the neckband. That's not true. How do I want to say it? My arm is aching.